This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Hello, this is your host, James Foo Torres, or you can call me Foo. And this is Moments with Foo, hence the name. And I'm here with Frankie, where he specializes on helping people to get from where they are to where they want to be. And I have him here to just have a conversation where we're going to highlight his story, and he's going to share with us some tips, a big challenge that he has overcome, and then he's gonna tell us a little bit about like his expertise in like that free topic, and then we're gonna do a quick recap and just have fun conversation. So Frankie, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine, Fu. Thanks for taking the time to have this discussion today. This will be fun.
Yeah, definitely. This is, the purpose of this podcast is to just highlight entrepreneurs that have something to share and they want to give back to. So I'm excited to learn from you and to have the audience to have some value from you. So, first, just tell us a little bit about you, like an introduction to who you are and what you do, so people know who is talking to them, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I grew up in the Mexican border in South Texas. And a month later, after graduating from high school, I was in the Army. And so 4 years at the academy and 30 years on active duty. And then got out in the private sector and have had different pivots. And so I'm very familiar with changes. And so what I have learned is how to help people with change. And today, the only constant is change. And so most people know where they are. And if they know where they are and they actually know where they want to go, what their goal is, then there's a way to help them build a LinkedIn bridge to get from where they are now to where they want to go. Because most people are under merchandised. In other words, they bring so much more to the table than what is on their profiles. And today, if you want to be found and if you want to get a note or a call, then you have to come up in a LinkedIn search.
Definitely. If you are not in LinkedIn, you need to get on LinkedIn. That's just not an option nowadays. If you're in business, you're an entrepreneur, and even if you're not an entrepreneur, because even in like just looking for jobs, and to something that I've learned is like to be able to even jump the ladder or to be finding the ideal job for you, even if you want to do a job in not entrepreneurship, you need to be on LinkedIn because you need to network, because it's not just about what you know and just knowing, it's also who you know, and that's super important. So I think it's perfect for that.
Right. So, for example, when somebody finds you and say they're looking for something, then that's your opportunity to feed them exactly what you bring to the table. And what I find with most people, they just don't put the most important things out there. They undersell themselves. And consequently, I, as a executive recruiter, I'm in this every day, and we just go to the next person. We don't have time to call you up and say, well, I think you might have done this. We just go to the next person that, kind of fits the requirement.
Definitely. You have to make it obvious what you do, have it out there. So that's where like the synergies, or like what I do and what you do, come into play, because with PR, it's how to share your success and announce like where you're going and what's your purpose and everything, because it's not it's not just being an expert. You have to let people know like that you're an expert. If not, if they don't know, it doesn't matter if you know everything, right? You have to let others know. So
So anyway, I came to this point after 40 plus years of helping develop people, both in the military and then in the private sector. And then when I was a executive recruiter, it became extremely apparent to me that a lot of people know how to do a lot of things, and they do great jobs. They make money for the company, you name it, by any metric. But how often do they have to go and sell themselves? It's not that often. And then the older you get, the harder it becomes for the sale. And so that's even more critical for the 40 plus year olds to really have what they bring together with all the metrics and good content, so that they can be seen for truly who they are and what they can do.
exactly. And that's a good segue to my next question, which is, do you have any actionable tips that you can share to the audience related to your expertise that, people can get value from it right now, and they can either learn or apply right now?
Right. So really what we're talking about is everybody's in a content war. I mean, you're in the content business, I'm in the content business. And so if you're competing against your peer, right? Say if you're looking for employment, if you want to get promoted, you want to change sectors, anything imaginable that involves change, then you're competing against some other peers. And so the way that you compete is with content. And so more content trumps less content, and quality content trumps everything. And compelling content that can be measured with qualitative and quantitative metrics trumps everything. And if you've done it, a lot of people say, well, Joe, I don't want to brag and all that kind of stuff. And I always go back to
I've heard that.
what Dizzy Dean says. And he says, well, it ain't bragging if you've done it. You're just stating a fact, right? It's all backed up by the numbers, So I was working with an individual one time, and he said, well, I don't want to put any of that out there. And I said, well, you got it all together, and it's really good content. And he said, well, Joe, I'm not going to use it. And I said, okay. I said, mark a file and put it in there and title it obituary. He said, what are you talking about? Well, that way, when you die, somebody can at least use your content later and say you were really a great guy.
Yeah. That's so funny. I haven't heard that before. So definitely it's an interesting take for sure. Yeah. So just with that, let's segue to my next question, which is, do you have a specific challenge that taught you a lot in business that you think that taught you a great lesson that is worth sharing with people in this podcast?
One time when I was in Korea with the military, we had a challenge with the whole aviation repair system, and so it was really a complicated challenge because a number of different things needed improvement. And so naturally, when you want to improve something, it needs resources. And so what I learned is, you have to know who the stakeholders are. Who are the customers, who are the stakeholders, and the sooner you get everybody on board, and get assistance where they can see that they can benefit from that. So it's really about taking the message. Really learned about, okay, the message needs to be different because different people have different interests, right? They're interested in the holistic thing, but it's their piece of it, and all parts of it need to kind of come together at one time. So it was what I learned from that was there's different audiences, there's different requirements for information, and it it helped me a lot going forward, because the more complicated and the bigger things are, the different stakeholders, different audiences, and different interests in something, and you got to be able to address them all, if you're going to progress forward.
Yeah, definitely. It is something to keep in mind, that you have to differentiate yourself, and that's something that with PR, it's a big thing for me, that I tell to people. It's, you can put the same message in just like a sheet of paper and try to share, or just a normal post, and people, a lot of times, are just gonna scroll past it. But if you do it with authority, and what is, it's gonna make people stop. Like I use cover arts, and I use things that are gonna pop, and really like leveraging the branding, and keywords that are like, gonna make people stop. So that's when it's key.
What I learned after about the first 300 people I assisted and coached, and everybody says, Joe, you need a pamphlet, you need a ebook, you need this. And it took me a while, but I finally got it together with a co-author, and we wrote a book called LinkedIn, the 5-minute drill for executive networking success. Because everybody says, look, I don't have time to read, a big book. So we kept it to an hour, and I think that's one of the hardest things I've done, is write a book that you can read in an hour.
Yeah. It's something that I also like. I have a book that just came out this week, and today we started the campaign with the ebook.
Great.
And it's very similar to what you're saying. Like, the book is a short book, and it's called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. So it goes perfectly with.
I love that title.
Yeah, thank you. It's Jason Miller, as the CEO of Strategic Advisor Board. Like, he was writing this book, and he was like, look, I want to include some chapters about public relations. So that's, I got 2 chapters in the book, and we're both authors in this book, and now we're distributing that. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I did mine with Lori Ruff. So you've got the lady side and the guy side.
Definitely. So now, just to segue to the next section, and here's where I like to open it up to the entrepreneur that I'm being featured, and to have a free topic. So is there a specific topic that you would like to broadcast here, to share with the audience?
Yes, I think one of the important things to know is your LinkedIn profile is not your resume. Your LinkedIn profile is much more than that, because your resume is just a snapshot against a position specification or job description. Your LinkedIn profile is the total you. It's what you bring to the table. We're talking about your intelligence. We're talking about your emotional intelligence. All of that, can be laid out on a profile. And the resume is a construct that you make uniquely against a job description or position specification. And the rest that anybody wants to know about you, they're going to go to your LinkedIn profile, because it's going to be on your resume. So your resume is be brief, be quick, be gone, on the position specification. And the LinkedIn profile is everything else in the kitchen sink about you that might be relevant to people that are looking for what you bring to the table.
Yeah, LinkedIn has done a very good job of segmenting the profile, how you can, initially you have the header, and it's like the thing that most people see even without having to enter your profile. So that's where you put your value statement and the things that are stand out the most, so people like can see that first. And then from there you go down, you go to the about section, and there you can put like a whole lot of information there that really goes in depth in what you want to showcase about yourself, and the different things that you've done. And then you keep going down, right? And you have like all, like, what you've done and then you got the awards, and then you got also the recommendations. That's a big part, because you can get other people, look, I did some great work for you, and or me as a person, we're doing this team together or something, and then you can get people to vouch for you. And super accessible. I was like, oh, I want to confirm this, I'll click on it and go talk to that person. It's like, hey, is this guy really, doing this? So it's such a complete thing, and such a great networking tool, but also like way to display easily, like in the palm of your hand, right? You have their phone, you have everything now. So LinkedIn is definitely, it's one of the, if not the number one social media right now, because it's great, other than like TikTok, because it's videos and quick sliding, but those two are the top in my opinion right now.
Yeah. So a lot of people just use LinkedIn like the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Here's kind of the stuff, here's the important stuff and what have you. But LinkedIn gives you the ability to publish an entire Wall Street Journal. I mean, pages 2 through 9, op-ed section, finance section, etc. So there's a lot of depth that most people do not choose to use. Why? Probably because it involves some work. But you can, there's a lot of power out there. And so when we say you're in a content war, that's a noun and verb war with your peers. And the better you use nouns and verbs in reference to you, the higher you're going to come up in the search.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because LinkedIn is usually, I mean, if you use it properly, usually the first thing that comes up with your name, as long as it's not like a super common name. So definitely it's something that is super powerful that you should definitely pay attention to.
True. And LinkedIn, is kind of got a drug deal with all the major search engines. So if you got a LinkedIn profile, and you're unique, it'll be the number one thing that comes up.
Yeah, exactly my point. And yeah, like, thanks for sharing all that with the audience and with me, because I always like talking about LinkedIn. I enjoy it because I'm passionate about it. It's my number one social media. So I we can't stress it enough to people, like, look, you have to be like, if there's one social media that you're gonna have polish and everything, should be LinkedIn for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just to quickly recap to everything that we talked about, we talk a little bit about your story, how you're a veteran like me. So that was something that we had in common, like at first glance, and that's one of the connections that we made. Then we talk about a lot of like, don't let your story be untold, like share your story and really share it with authority, which is something that with PR, it's something that I can't stress enough, because it's a great way, right? And then we talk a little bit about your one of your challenges that taught you a lesson to give like to the audience. And then in your free topic, talk this, it really all incorporated into like, don't let your story to be told, do it with authority, and make sure your LinkedIn is on point.
Yeah. If it's not on LinkedIn, you never, ever in your life did it.
Almost that, right? If it's on LinkedIn, it didn't happen.
Right. That's the bottom line up front.
Yeah. But yeah. So lastly, so how can people find you easily, by looking you up in Google?
Yeah. So I'm the number one hit on just Joe Frankie with an IE, like Frankie and Johnny. The third, I. So Joe, Frankie, I, and I'll come up uniquely, and there'll be 2 to 3 pages on me. So the podcasts are there, all the other, media that I've done with other people. So you can kind of pick and choose.
Perfect. Making it easy for people to find you. For me, James Fu Torres is something that always gonna come up. But if you want to make it shorter, James L Fu, FOO. I dominate there because I use that username on all my social media. So that's how I dominate on Google. So that's how the audience can find us. And thanks for sharing. It was a good time here, and very very good conversation. I felt like it flowed pretty good, and we gave some knowledge, and we discussed a lot about LinkedIn, which is very important.
No, I appreciate it. I enjoy doing it, and I'm glad to do it here.
Thank you for joining. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's not our last conversation. We're gonna have other conversations and possible collaborations coming up. So I'm excited for that.
I am too.
Thank you. So bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Fu with your host, Fu. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.